Today we will be doing the second part of the lesson Christmas morning. I'm Milane from English Made Easy. This channel is dedicated to creating easy and interesting lessons so that you can improve your English in an enjoyable way. If you like the lesson, do hit that like button. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. That way, you will get notified each time I post new content and you can enjoy each lesson at your earliest. Christmas Morning, like I said yesterday, is an extract from Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. The story is based on the lives of the four March sisters Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. Scholars classify the book as an autobiography or a semi autobiography because they believe that the story revolves around the author's own life. I will be explaining the meanings of the new words to you before I read the text. In doing so, I believe that you will be able to understand the text much better when you see how the words are used in it. I have numerous oral questions and answers to help you to understand the text better. Please also pay careful attention to the spelling and pronunciation of the words. At the end of the lesson, I have some multiple choice questions for you to do. If you get all the answers right, then you will know that you have understood the text well. And if you don't get all the answers right, all you need to do is read the text once again. Maybe not just once, twice, thrice, four times, as many times as required, until you are sure that you have understood it very well. All right, shall we begin? As a quick revision before we start with part 2, let's see if you can remember the names of all four girls. Try and remember. Let's see. Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. Those were the four girls. And now I have a few new words to share with you to help you to understand the text better. The first new word is procession. They walked towards the store in a procession. And if you look at the picture, you will know what procession means. What do you think it means? Procession is a group of people moving forward in an orderly manner for some purpose. The next new word, ragged. Her clothes looked ragged. So, what does ragged mean? Old and torn. The next new word, stopped up. They stopped up the window with an old bed sheet. What does it mean? Covered. Stopped up is nothing but covered. The next new word, gruel. The gruel seemed very watery. So, what does it mean? It's a dish made by boiling any kind of grain with milk or water, like a porridge. Here's the next new word, escorted. They escorted each other down the road to the park. So, what do you think the word means? To accompany someone. I hope you got that right. And now I have a few spellings to share with you. Crimson, precious, muffins, cologne, buckwheats, escort, handkerchief. You do know that hanky is short for handkerchief, right? The actual word is handkerchief. Crimson, precious, muffins, cologne, buckwheats, escort, and handkerchief. And now we can move on to part 2 of this lesson. I will read it first and then I will ask you a few oral questions before I move on to the multiple choice questions. Are you ready? They were soon ready and the procession set out. Walking through narrow streets, they reached the bare room in which the Hummel family lived. It had broken windows, no fire, ragged bedclothes, a sick mother, a wailing baby, and a group of pale, hungry children cuddled under one old quilt, trying to keep warm. Oh, it is good angels come to us, said the poor woman, crying for joy. Funny angels in hoods and mittens, said Joe, and they all laughed together. In a few minutes, the room began to look happy and cheerful. Hannah, who had carried wood, made a fire and stopped up the broken panes with old newspaper. I'll stop there and ask you a few questions. Who said, "It is good angels come to us"? Mrs. Hummel said those words. Were the streets narrow or broad? The streets were narrow. Describe the room in which the Hummels lived. The room was bare, it had broken windows, no fire, and in the room was a group of pale, hungry children cuddled under one old quilt, a sick mother, and all they had was ragged bedclothes. What had Hannah carried? Hannah had carried wood. Who put newspaper on the broken window panes? Hannah put newspaper on the broken window panes. Let's move on to the next part. Oh, I'll go back and read the last line there. Mrs. March gave the mother tea and gruel and comforted her with promises of help. In the meantime, the girls spread the table, set the children round the fire, and fed them like so many hungry birds. This is good, said the children as they ate and warmed their hands in front of the fire. That was a very happy breakfast for the March sisters, though they didn't get any of it. That's loving our neighbor better than ourselves, and I like it, said Meg, as they set out their presents while their mother was upstairs collecting clothes for the poor Hummels. She's coming, strike up the march, Beth. Open the door, Amy. Three cheers for Mommy, cried Joe, dancing about while Meg went to conduct Mother to the seat of honor. Beth played a march on the piano. Amy threw open the door, and Meg gave Mrs. March a grand escort to her seat. Mrs. March was both surprised and touched, and smiled with her eyes full as she examined her presents and read the little notes. I'll stop there. So, what did Mrs. March give Mrs. Hummel? Mrs. March gave Mrs. Hummel some tea and gruel. What did the girls do? The girls spread the table and set the children round the fire and then fed them like hungry birds. Why was it a happy breakfast for the March sisters? It was a happy breakfast for the March sisters because they were able to do something for someone in need. It made them feel good. What was Mrs. March doing upstairs? Mrs. March was collecting clothes for the Hummels. Who played a march on the piano? Beth played a march on the piano. Who threw open the door? Amy threw open the door. So before I go to the next part, let me read the last sentence starting from here. Mrs. March was both surprised and touched, and smiled with her eyes full as she examined her presents and read the little notes which accompanied them. The slippers went on at once. A new handkerchief was slipped into her pocket, well scented with Amy's cologne. A rose was fastened in her hair hat, and a nice pair of gloves fitted perfectly. There was a good deal of laughing and talking in the simple way which makes these family festivals so pleasant, so sweet to remember long afterward. A few more questions. What did Mrs. March do with the rose? Mrs. March put the rose in her hat. What did Mrs. March do with the gloves? Mrs. March wore the gloves. What did Mrs. March do with the handkerchief? Mrs. March slipped the handkerchief into her pocket. What makes family festivals so pleasant? The simple laughing and talking and sharing love makes family festivals so pleasant. And now, are you ready for your questions? Do you have a book and a pen ready? I am about to start. Are you sure you're ready? I have 6 questions today. Let's hope that you get them all right. Ready to start? Here's your first question. The Hummel's home had a big TV, no fire, lots of sweets. The right answer is no fire. Joe said that they were angels wearing hoods and socks, mittens, or cardigans. Mittens. Hannah covered the broken window panes with old newspaper, her bedsheet, or some hay. Old newspaper. Mrs. March gave the mother tea and wine, cake, or gruel. Gruel. Did the March sisters get any breakfast? Yes, no, not sure. What do you think? No. Mrs. March put the new handkerchief into a drawer, the cupboard, her pocket. Her pocket. And with that, we've come to the end of the questions that I had for you today. I hope that you understood the text well and you were able to answer all the questions and get them all right. If there is any part of the text that you do not understand and you would like me to repeat, help you understand it, please do let me know in the comments below. Also, if there is any question that you would like me to help you with, please let me know. The next lesson in the book is Red Eye, so do watch part 1 and then part 2 if you have not already done so. Also, I have some multiple choice questions for you to do based on the lesson. Here is a link to Red Eye part 1. In my next lesson, I will allow you to test your understanding of the entire lesson, Christmas morning. That means you have a lot of homework to do. You have to read part 1 and part 2 over and over again and make sure that you are thorough with it. I will prepare a lot of multiple choice questions for you to answer, and in order to do well in the test, you have to read the lesson very well. Before I end, I want to thank all those who have supported my channel so far by subscribing to it. A big thank you to all those of you who ask me to do a certain lesson for you, especially Ayushi and Jitender, as that gives me a certain direction that I am so grateful for. We'll meet again tomorrow and do that test. Until then, please keep reading. Bye for now.